How's it going?
Good morning. I'm now recording after we've put down our weed and
Good.
now we're
There
drinking
was no weed.
coffee.
What? We're
Yeah.
just having
If there
tea.
was weed, it was being shown, not smoked.
It was like exhibiting the weed. Nah, but never happened.
Exhibiting. Exhibitional marijuana.
There you go. It's the best kind.
How are you, sir?
Good man. I've been in up here for a week in Edinburgh. I don't know how to say it, but it's so much better than London. Like there's an
You don't know how to
element.
say the name of the town or
Oh no
the
no.
city, or you okay? Because
Wait,
you
now
got
that you
it, you got it
mention it,
right.
dude, I am not sure. Is it Edinburgh or Edinburgh pronunciation?
I think that you should just always respond Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. It sounds
I don't
Edinburgh.
I don't know, but it's funny.
Let's see.
Uh,
Let's hear it. Edinburgh. Come on, play it. God damn it. But yeah, that would have been Edinburgh. There you go. So it's Edinburgh, as in a borough.
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. But it's much better, man. It's rainy as fuck, but it's better. The energy is better up here. London fucking drained me.
I can imagine. Yeah, it seemed like that was not the energy you were in.
Nope. As soon as I left, my sister told me the same thing, and like 5 of my friends were like, "Yeah, dude, I'm actually in the same place. Like, I haven't been where I wanted to be." I'm like, "Well, what the fuck have you been doing here?" Act. So yeah.
Well, it's like being in a bad relationship. Like your friends will like hint at it, but like you
Hard.
have to make the decision.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a collective, if everyone leaves their girlfriend, and they're like, "I'm happier now," it helps. But you're right. It's a very personal thing, man. They're stuck
Yeah.
in banking jobs. They're unhappy. I'm like, you're making a lot of money. What are you complaining about? But I understand. They're unhappy.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody has a flavor, and those flavors change and all that jazz.
Absolutely.
So we're recording now. I'm probably gonna stop it and then restart. And I have a very specific agenda for today.
Yes, go ahead.
Because there's like 8,000 things I want to talk to you about, but there's one specific thing that I want to get done.
Sure.
So, we have some stuff going on. I'm excited.
I love that smile. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it in Slack, but John and I, after a year of conversation of like, how do we bring capital in on a regular basis without changing the intention of what we're doing, we finally found an answer to the question. So we are creating a California cooperative, specifically a member worker cooperative. So basically, every citizen of one is going to be a member of the cooperative. And so based on your contributions or purchase or your basically what you exchange with the cooperative, that dictates how much you own of the cooperative. So how much you participate dictates how much you own.
I like that.
And so you can participate by putting in a lot of money, or you can participate by putting in a lot of work, or you can participate by putting in social capital, like all the stuff that we've already been doing. So that's exciting. We did our first board meeting. It was live streamed.
That was awesome. Really
it was
cool.
like, it was fun. It was warm. We had like the perfect mix of people that like jumped on to ask questions with like a very disparate, like different kinds of questions. So like as far as something to like reference back to and say like that was the first board meeting, like at this timestamp we got that question, here's the answer. Perfect.
I watched maybe 25 minutes and then skimmed through. I really appreciate the transparency and the way you guys were approaching it. It's not that you were having to be transparent, it's that you wanted to be transparent. Like, because you have to take into account this is public. You can't say things like, we want to get rich or some weird. That was, like, there was not even any energy with that. It was just people talking about something they care about. And I kind of like that a lot.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, like I know you do this with other people, and I do this with like the wall of stuff. It's like you factor for Reddit, because Reddit is the quickest to jump to non-understanding. Like you have like this group of people that just like, well, what about this? And if you can factor for that, like you're basically talking to someone who's in a place of seeking truth. And if you can communicate with someone that's seeking truth, then you're like, cool, you can communicate with anyone. And so, being able to say like, look, like one of the biggest differences is like we live stream it, but I don't really promote it. And so it's like, we're doing it in public, but we're not pushing it on you. And so we don't expect people to be watching 24/7. But everything's like recorded and uploaded to YouTube. And then when I write my memos, I'm linking it for context. So I'm like, oh yeah, at this moment we decided, or at this moment, so-and-so came up with this. And so it's point of reference, and it's kind of an interesting blend between like the reality show aspect and just like point of record. Like C-SPAN, but like more interesting. But anyway, so super excited on that. I actually just ordered an Ethernet cable, so I'm not going to stream this because apparently having a Zoom call with 6 people while live streaming uses a lot of bandwidth, and apparently the internet wirelessly is not magic. But I found out that like that's my core limitation.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have a connection speed, like a fiber optic of 100 meg here. It's my cousin; he's a big nerd, which is life changing. I've never had that in my life, but yeah, man, I can imagine 5 people coming in and then streaming might get heavy. I don't know how streamers do it, but yep, that's heavy internet.
Yeah, so we will see. But so there's the cooperative stuff. Then there's whatever the fuck is happening with this New York Times piece. I'm really excited. I told you about this, right?
No.
Oh. So our PR team, I've introduced you to Matt, right? Who did Pornhub's marketing?
Sorry. You said marketing? I didn't. It actually broke the Pornhub marketing. So I have no idea what you said.
Yeah. So Matt Yanofsky, he did like a lot of Pornhub's marketing in the early days. He kind of like created the safe for work advertising that they do. Like
big. It still is big.
Created the idea for the statistical, or that was it Pornhub Insights. Did the Arbor Day campaign, like did a bunch of their early viral stuff, and kind of like set the tone for everything that they do now. He started a PR agency called The Moment Lab. He and I have been kind of co-creating before that frame existed for several years. He's been like, oh, like I'm gonna help you, get press, but like everything that I've been doing has been either not ready, really just not ready, because it's like confusing as shit. Now it's ready. For the last probably like 4 or 5 months, his team has been working with us to create a story that would be press-worthy, and starting with Spiritual Bro, that resulted in the conversation with a journalist. The journalist was doing a piece on male spirituality in Los Angeles. She then interviewed me. I was actually wearing this t-shirt, and she interviewed me, and then I told her about Symposium, and she's like, well, like, I feel like Symposium could be the story. And then so she came to Symposium, and then like talked to Will Cady of Reddit, and also Mark Golston, who's like I'll share context, he's written like 7 books. He's a award-winning psychiatrist. He's a really interesting dude. Sold 400,000 copies. He's trained hostage negotiation trainers for the FBI and been a consultant to Disney, Cisco, IBM, FedEx, LinkedIn, like just everything. He's an interesting human. He also started making these. He did a TED Talk on basically the premise is like, Rob, what made you smile today?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, now I'm asking, yeah.
Fuck, that's like entirely doesn't work. Just a nude from my girlfriend. That's really not in the essence of this shit.
That was the first time coffee almost went all over my computer.
Sorry, dude. It's no, let's say just some professional networking or emailing for work that has been positively, like the conversation is positively growing, and that has been good to see. Yes.
So that question, like it's a great frame, and it feels I've yet to ask it and not like feel warm in response. So anyway, so he did a TED Talk that was that, made bracelets, which are super cool. And then he they're under the table, sweetie. And yeah, so he came, the journalists interviewed him, interviewed Will, and she's coming
Awesome.
back.
There are names like in the industry that are part of the symposium or the group that really just, I mean, on your own you've got it covered, but then these names are going to give these journalists kind of a more of a reason to report on the story, like relevance. It's
yeah,
awesome.
and I mean, you look at like this is so she's coming back with her photographer. And
I have to go to the symposium. You're killing me right now, to be honest.
We're making space. We'll get there. I promise. We'll get there. So like just an amazing list of people. Anyway, yada yada. She's coming back with her photographer.
Awesome.
So it looks like in the near future there will very likely be a photo of me and Will Katie in the New York Times.
Nice,
something spirituality. So so it's interesting because cooperative, live stream, mythos, that. And now I'm starting to get really like stable on kind of like how I'm doing my Reddit advertising to be like, hey, I'm a human, I'm speaking to you directly, here's stuff that we're working on, this thing is a sticky note, that thing is a website, this thing is a physical product, you know, and just like being able to communicate it more effectively. Now that we have the frame of the cooperative, it's like, it makes it easier to explain. And so it seems like we're going to be getting some attention shortly. And it's going to be interesting because I basically spent, I mean, arguably like 6 years, but definitely like 2.5 years, like prepping and testing and experimenting. And so it'll be interesting. It's already like just the comments on the Reddit ads have been fucking hilarious. So the very specific agenda that I have for you today, I have it on a sticky note somewhere on my wall. It's ads by Allam. How do I say your last name? Allam, right?
Yeah, Allam.
Okay, I never say it. So I want to teach you how to make ads. And specifically, I want to teach you how to make ads the way that I make ads, which is as art. And so so you like, these are all my like super pretty nice ads. But then if you click on like this, then you'll see it goes to Mythos. It's just a tag. And it's a list of all of them, and it's sorted by the last modified. And then you see this, and like I add notes based on, you know, okay, this one was, you know, rejected for this reason because it's self-promotion. This one got a really cool comment. You know, it is my public notation of like, here's my top comment, here's the link, you know, version 1, yada yada.
Nice.
So that's my process of doing it. It's made it really interesting because I can just very quickly be like, you know, it's a piece of Reddit art. I don't have to explain what Reddit art is every time I make it. It's just a piece of Reddit art promoting this. Again, don't have to explain it. It's already linked. And these don't have to be perfect, right? Like the whole point of Mythos is that like it's ongoing. And so a lot of my memos are just sentences. And then, you know, if someone asks a question, then I answer it further and so on and so forth. So I want to get you, let me pause my cloud thing. It's slowing stuff down. I want to teach you how to make ads. I want to put some budget behind you playing. And I mean, like my budget, this is the last 7 days.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Last 7 days, we got 111,000 impressions for $50. Right.
That's not bad. Fuck, all right.
And it's like, and so one of the things that I want to do is like,
that numbers don't make sense, by the way, but all right. Yeah.
Say it again.
$50. How is it $50?
Some stuff that I'll tell you off live stream.
All right.
I mean, like we're bidding based on clicks, but the way that we're bidding is just like, and so like look at it. Like this is a fucking comment on an ad.
Can't see. Let me see.
Let me go to. So this is one of the. All right. So this is for Spirit Check.
Yeah.
Right. So I made like 3 of these, and I made 3 that use a different trigger with a different sidebar. and this is my contextually augmented context.
All right.
And this is definitely creepy. What was really interesting is I didn't respond to this at first because I didn't really know how, and it had 6 points. And then I finally just was like, I appreciate the feedback, and I'm curious to hear more about this reflection. What aspects are unnerving? Is there anything particular that would assuage those, assuage the unease? Suddenly it lost 2 upvotes. So like because I responded, people thought, they were like, so because the advertiser responded earnestly, all of a sudden the people who were trying to troll are like, oh, let's not do that. And then he responded with I haven't read this yet, but like, this is a well-formed, like articulate, intentionally crafted, spent the time, like,
it's feedback.
Looks like a tool to provide people. Corporate statement is like letting people go. All right. See, and my response to this is that it's about choice and awareness. So, it's not that you have to replace it with these things. It's that we want you to acknowledge that you're using this or choose something else.
It's not like a censor for your, words. It's more of a suggestion that you can, adapt.
Because we're us, we call it a prompt to presence. A prompt to presence, right? So if you're like, oh, I'm just trying to get a job, and you're like, hey, trying to, and you're like, oh, I'm present in the work to get a job, and it's really intense. You're like, okay, like you can say the same thing. That's totally cool. Just like acknowledge that that's the energy that you're feeling, because if you don't, then you're a slave to it.
Absolutely.
In a frame. So anyway, so I want to get you making ads. Now, then the question becomes, what are you making ads about? Because Reddit won't allow you to make an ad for the sake of making an ad, because some asshole decided to change their terms of service by prompting them to realize that they should probably have some limitations on what you're able to promote.
Is it you?
Yeah.
Well, what the fuck?
This is how I met Will. This is like, I did this last year. This was like the first piece of, art that I ever made. and then Will reached out to me. He's like, so like your thing got posted to the internal Slack channel at Reddit, and like, I should probably know like who you are. And then Will came to Symposium and met John and a bunch of other people. And then like, that was the basis of our friendship, was like, I had to like, but like, so that, and then a week later their terms of service changed so that now you can't do any self-promotion.
Thanks for ruining the fun. Thanks for ruining the fun.
So here's the poke, is that the way that they structure it, and it like it, if you know anything about Reddit's admins, like you can empathize with what they go through on a daily and annually basis.
It's a work in progress. It always has been.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like the
so they want,
it makes sense the way they spotted that. How many upvotes?
850.
How many?
So 850.
Oh my god! So all right. So it got popular.
So what was really funny though? I mean, it's just 234 comments is the better part.
How much did you pay for this shit? 800 upvotes.
No, $100.
Oh, come on, Ryan.
So the reason I only paid $100 is because half of the traffic I paid for. I paid for like 70,000 impressions. But then I linked it in a submission. So I was like, it was like 11 o'clock at night. I'm like skimming, New and Rising, and I saw, it was in Mythos. So I was looking at Rising, and I saw this post that was a guy standing next to a billboard. Oh yeah, I had a girl that I had gone on a date with text me, which was hilarious. I forget what it's named. I'll have to find it later. But basically, like I caught. Oh wait, no. I caught a Rising post, and I linked my ad in the top of the Rising post, and then that was like the top comment, and I got like 70,000 organic impressions to my paid ad that I didn't have to pay for, because Reddit wasn't, because I wasn't paying Reddit to serve the ad, because I was driving it organically to the link. I didn't pay for it. And so that was a big awakening for me, because I was like, okay, so what if I create an ad that people like actually like, it doesn't exist in a subreddit, so I don't have to conform to whatever the subreddit is. Essentially, I've made my own subreddit, right? It's completely independent of any subreddit. And as long as I can link my ad in a comment thread and it's relevant and people are like, Alexa, off, and people think it's funny, then I can do it, right? So it's like you're augmenting with context.
Are you saying they made it impossible for you to link to ads now?
No. They didn't do that.
Right.
They put in a clause that you're not allowed to do self-promotion, but the way around that is quite simple. Sell something. But that doesn't mean you have to sell.
Like
but that doesn't
promote the business or something that is yours,
right? So you have to sell. You have to sell something. You can't sell a person. But the me being me, the immediate thing you look for is sell is a subjective term. It doesn't mean successful, right? It doesn't mean that you actually are effective in selling. It just means you have to make an attempt. So if you are to do an ad, my thought is, let's do an ad for Gallowbot and then basically drive people to a Typeform to be like, would you like to talk to an AI version of Gallowboob?
This is the top priority. This is for me the top idea for play. Like honestly, because there's so much fun and feedback we can get out of this. But for instance, I know for a fact there will be some kind of like not angry comments. I don't mind angry comments, but like like the next step from angry comments, like people calling you generic slurs, or like like I get called the F word a lot.
Well,
because
so like that, right. I mean, there's a reason I own fuckgallowboob.com. We've gone through that. We still haven't made t-shirts, but I feel like that's later down in the wall.
By the way, yeah. Tell me now that if we're having fun with this, we're gonna fucking sell some stupid shirts and mugs down the line, because that's so much fun for me, man. Like with the bot.
I like the frame of productive trolling. I have so many bot names. Okay, so I have Gallowbot somewhere.
Yep.
So
here's sure you had.
Yeah, I just don't think I've hooked it up to a memo. Let's check my domains. So here's what I'm thinking is, we'll have you in your mythos just make a blank memo that's like, there it is. Oh, that's weird.
What?
Gallowbot.com forwards here, but what's the title of the memo? Rob Plus. Oh, okay. All right. I forgot I changed that. So basically, this is my frame of what Gallowbot is. An augmented version of you, project in partnership with Spirit Studio. So I have Brian Bot for anyone who's watching this at any point in time. And so like you've conveyed to me that you like making people feel good. That's what you genuinely, as a human being, like to do. And the amount of energy that you have to do that can be impacted by people who troll you because they're in a space that they're in. And yep. I've seen you reach out to some of those people. I've seen you make space for those people. We use the frame of making space. If someone is aggressively encroaching on your space, I've had that happen to me a few times in varying forms. Distance, and it's like, I don't, like with Symposium, I've only ever pushed one person out, and it was a probation, because I was like, you're not respecting the space, you're not listening, you're making other people feel uncomfortable because you're not listening. So until other people say that you've reformed and are paying more attention to other people and being empathetic, this space is not for you. And it pains me to say that, but you need to go inward to come here.
I agree. That's the thing online. It doesn't translate the same, especially when you're a big name, because like you cannot really engage these as a discussion. In a way, I don't know what kind of stupid example I can use, or simple example, but imagine, for instance, someone telling PewDiePie or Ninja on Twitter, like you suck, why did you do this, right? And regardless of this, what they did is wrong, it's false. But he's like, you suck, why did you do this? If they engage with that or reply, they will literally give that user legitimacy, for that question. And that becomes a whole little...
That's because your attention is valued more than other people because of your stature. And so the way in which that I've used Mythos is that if people come to companies, right? So I get like Fortune 100 companies that contact me and they go, we want to do Reddit marketing, let's talk. And in some frame, they communicate like, we want to learn more about Reddit because we want to deploy on this platform. Right. And as soon as they say we want to learn more, I'm like, cool, you don't understand it. You're going to contact me. I'm going to teach you about it. And like the frame that I usually taught Reddit marketing was it's authentic contribution. So then the question becomes, what is your authentic contribution? Fortune 100 company, not to be named in this medium, is like, oh yeah, we don't want to do that. We just want something that's scalable, And I'm like, cool, like you have no interest in making space for people. So this is not the space for you. If you want to do Reddit ads and you want to lock the comments, then by all means do that. It's less, the ROI is much less than I've experienced on Facebook and Instagram, but you can do that. But if you want to do an ad and keep the comments unlocked, or if you want to engage the community in really any way, creating a subreddit, submitting a piece of content, whatever, then it needs to be authentic contribution. And most companies would approach me and not be willing to have that conversation. So when they would approach me, instead of getting on the phone, having the conversation again, I would direct them to a piece of Mythos. And as soon as I would direct them, I actually had one where this guy, who's like a senior director of a company with 1,000 people, it's a very well-known company. And he LinkedIn messaged me and he said, we want to do Reddit marketing. We have a launch coming up in 10 days. And I later found out that like the dev community of Reddit is not a fan of this company because of the way that they've interacted with Reddit previously. So he messaged me on LinkedIn. I came over here. I wrote this, right? As soon as I received the message, I wrote this. It said, I by and large decline last minute Reddit marketing campaigns, those with a project launch date less than 45 days from the date of my engagement. The reasons are Reddit marketing is a process of strategic contribution. Less than 45 days is by and large not enough preparation time to make a meaningful contribution. In cases where the campaign is a natural fit for the culture and has been crafted as such, less than 45 days isn't by and large enough time for me to take ownership of the outcomes. Meaning like, if you're going to go viral anyway, and you hire me, chances are you're going to go viral and you're not going to think that I had anything to do with it. So I'm just not going to get involved because go for it. So I wrote this and then I sent it to him and I said, because he was like 10 days and I'm like, typically I don't do this. And I sent it to him because it wasn't coming out of my mouth, because it was like a point of record that was somewhere. The way that he energetically received it was like, oh, he's not pushing this to me. It exists here. It's a policy, right? It felt more real. And as soon as you have something tangible or something outside of your physical body to point at, it changes in nature. And so that's what we've
formats. Yeah.
Right. And so we've talked about that a little bit in regards to the nature of the bot is like, if you can point somewhere else for an answer, then it gives it more credibility because people are not like, why the fuck, like this dude's the #1 Redditor. Like, why is he taking the time to respond to my comments? Like, because he's a nice human fucking being and he's making the space for you. But like, as soon as you make the space for them, they're like, why the fuck did you make the space for me? It's like, it's paradox, but I think it's paradox.
But I see your point. And to be fair, almost 90% of the people who comment on my like profile post, they're, when I see them talk in the wild about it, they're saying exactly, they're like, oh, he's just a cool dude, he's often engaging. And when you comment on his self post, he replies. So the fact that I'm just literally just engaging with like fun way of engaging them. They're funny. I say something funny in turn. Then you have a funny thread. They come back for that. And then they speak about that as like, oh yeah, he's a normal person that talks to people. So what you're saying is compiling that information and these answers
it's actually really funny because I was talking, my girlfriend's a Redditor and we were talking about you last night and I was like, oh yeah, I'm like super excited because I'm talking to Rob
If she hates me, I'll ban her from every sub. Bring her here now.
She has noise canceling headphones on presently, and she's writing a PhD paper. But I will tell her that I will show her this later. And we were talking about you, and I was like, yeah, like, you know, Instagram influencers, like, you know, someone who has, I mean, like, you know, we know people who have, I don't know, 60,000, or, you know, like, one of the guys that goes to our gym has 10 million on YouTube, and, you know, like, everybody knows what a YouTube influencer is. Everybody knows what an Instagram influencer is. You're the only Reddit influencer. Like, shitty watercolor and shitty morph, like, kind of, but reasonably speaking, like, you are the person, and, like, even Reddit doesn't know what to do with you, because it's like, you're an influencer that nobody who doesn't use the platform understands. And even the people who use the platform are like, what the fuck is this? Because it's built to not be for that, and yet you've made space for it. And I've learned a lot from watching you, and I've kind of taken
a lot. Sorry, but you're right. You're right. It leaves me in a weird space where I can't really define myself or market myself in that way. And I don't need to define myself or market myself, but you are right that it is kind of unique to me. And where when you've got it being, it's like, so on Instagram it's a staple, on YouTube it's a staple, you can be an influencer and you know, engage in sponsored posts and like whatever campaigns. On Reddit it goes against that, the platform's core. The old Reddit goes against that. So yeah, I'm kind of in that spot, and right now I'll talk to you later when we're not recording about like the job stuff, just because it's personal. But yeah, it's I'm trying to actually define that and make it
so we've had conversations about this stuff, right? So all of the projects and the like it's okay, well, like, we want to do this, but we need to find someone that will pay us to do that because that costs money, or this is something we can do for fun, or like Gallowboob, for example. Functionally, if we can get people to sign up and say, that sounds cool, I would love to play with that, then we can find a company that will put some form of support behind it. Or we can make the space to create the support ourselves. And so that's kind of the structure of the co-op, is making space for this frame is work and art united. And so healing the split between work and the rest of life, which arises from a sell-off of our time. So like sponsorship on most platforms, as you said, you're like getting paid to sponsor a post. And the intention here is to create art. And now we have to frame our art under the guise of selling things, because that's the Reddit advertising policy that we have to abide to. That doesn't mean that we have to do it effectively. We can do it satirically, which is what I've been doing with my project. So my thought is that having, so there's two physical manifestations of what I'm thinking, and we're present in one right now. So manifestation number one is an ad placed by your account that is, you know, hey, Gallowboob here, I'm creating an AI version of myself. Would you like to play with it? And then that's going to go to this type form, which we can workshop later, and just basically say like, hey, here's the concept. Would this be of interest? And then basically ask a few questions first before we say personal info, and then say, look, if you would like to be updated on this, you can follow my sub. You don't need to give me any personal information. You might miss something, obviously. Or you can give me your email. I will only email you about this project. And just, you know, be abundantly honest, as you and I both are when we're talking interpersonally, which is very jarring on the internet because people don't tend to do that. And honesty takes but that's what I love about Mythos, is like honesty takes context. And if context is communicated one-on-one in a comment, then people are like, why are you taking the time to try and prove this to me? But if you put it in Mythos, then you completely skip over that. And you're like, look, like, here's my brain. You're welcome to pick it.
And it's not a catered comment to try to reply. It's like, it's there. It's right there. You can see it. It's not a screenshot.
This is the thing that I really enjoy. I looked at this morning. So our average time on site, non-users not logged in, is 3 minutes and 29 seconds.
That's pretty good. People click.
But it's intentionally, I don't want people to search the library because I don't want people to find things that they're not I want people to find stuff because they're asking a specific question, not because they're aimlessly exploring. Because if they're aimlessly exploring, then I would feel that I'm sucking people's time, and I don't want to suck people's time. I want to provide relevant context.
I see that.
It's open. I just make it hard to find.
Yeah, I guess they can be looking for something specific and also kind of get lost, along the way. But yeah, 3:30. That's more than I spend on most. Like when I log to Reddit, I spend less time on there. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
That's I cut on and off. But yeah.
So my thought is this. This is my content, my voice, my context on Rob Plus. So I'm going to teach you how to make a Reddit ad and then have you create it with your account and say, hey, Gallowboob here, creating an AI version of myself. Would love to hear your thoughts, context in the comments. This is my format of like, hey, like first and foremost, I'm asking you to have a conversation with me here. That's it. And as I had no idea that you could pin and sticky a comment until you told me that. So like I do that on every single ad because of you. So first and foremost, getting people to have a conversation. Secondly, having people fill feedback and maybe provide their email address to get updates later.
We can make it maybe email. Never mind. Leave it as email. I was going to say you can put their username, like Reddit username, but email.
Well, my thought is that we'll do this together off of this because it'll be boring. And then we'll do another one to go through it and be like, we decided to do this because. And so we'll do that. So you'll do an ad that says that drives here, and then we'll create some context. I can write it or you can write it, but it can be augmented through both of our mythos. Obviously, I've written more, so it can be like, my friend Brian, aka Brian Plus, made a joke that we should create Gallowbot, and so. And then we can share that story. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an ad that promotes this stream and be like, Gallowboob and I are making Gallowbot. And then I'm going to create an ad that promotes your ad. So long as Reddit approves it, that's some fuckery that I don't know if they'd be kosher with.
We'll try and ask. Yeah, I know. Obviously, I'm not going to ask for any special favors, but we'll try and ask them if that's possible. And hopefully it is, because I see how it would work.
It was said to me by a certain individual that like there are if you're a corporate sponsor and you come in with money, like you can do certain things. I don't feel that I'm ever going to be able to be considered one of those parties, because I'm pretty sure my account is like white flagged or something, or not white flagged, but
I know why,
like shadow flagged. Well, I like this, and then like the promoting my or pranking my roommate with Facebook ads. Like I'm flagged on Facebook for sure. So, but I mean,
it will play in your favor. You've been transparent about it, and now you came from there. Like you know how it works. But I know what you mean. And
prompting Reddit and Facebook to change their TOS is by far my biggest nerd cred.
It's awesome, man. It was for the better, if anything you did them a favor, so let's just keep it at that.
Facebook only made a symbolic change. Reddit's still small enough that they like manually approve everything. Is the only reason why they've actually like implemented those. Any hoozles. So
talking about bounce backs and where you can link it, this is also the ad I will share on social media. I will share on all my medias. I will also cross post it on my profile. And these posts get like 1,000 upvote on their own. So I'll upvote it. I'll cross post it, and I can even sticky it on my profile. I get maybe a few thousand visitors on my profile a day. So yeah,
this is gonna be fun.
Okay. So the purpose of it is for fun. Like the last thing I want here is to instigate anything. I want to have fun with this. I want to actually build life. Put life into Gallowbot, and it's a process, so we'll have to start somewhere.
So I'm gonna say United States for now. So Reddit likes to expand your target audiences to help maximize results. I would say maximize your results is code for spend your money. I recently unchecked that, and I'm like, no, this is what I want to target, and I targeted people who had visited the LA community, like the LA subreddit. And people from Vietnam are like, why are you targeting me with this? I'm in Vietnam. And that happened on my Stone and Single thing too, because people are like, I live in San Diego, I live in Wyoming. Like, why am I seeing this?
This is one thing I haven't tested with Reddit ads is the geolocation targeting. And I know that you can target via specific subs, but when they're not geo-based, you're targeting everyone on that sub. I'm not exactly sure. if you, I know I've spoken with Will and a few people. They did mention that you can limit it to the like you can target like our gifts for the American audience of our gift, which makes sense.
So that's what the communities are. So right now we've taken. So I'll make it a little bit bigger. So 87 million is the present audience. So then if we say 87 million only United States, it goes down to 14 million. So then if we say roast me, is it roast underscore me? No.
Our roast me, yeah.
Interesting. So roast me for whatever reason. There's subs that you can't target unless you have a lot of money. But like the trees community. So like, let's say if I want to target people who like
our
weed,
roast me is expensive.
I forget what it's the shadow list, I think is what it's called. And so basically it's a list of subs that you can't target. So like you can't target the depression community.
Fine. Can you target next fucking level? Check. Yeah, good,
yes.
Good. Holy fuck, what is that exclude thing number next to it? So what was that big number?
Oh, that's new. So now we can target, okay, so this means that we're targeting people in the United States who have recently visited the next fucking level subreddit, but who have not visited.
Yeah.
I mean, like that. Like, so we can. I don't know. It was the first thing that came to mind. So you can exclude. So who do you want to talk to?
Well, let's say we want to target men and not women. I mean, granted, men and women can use makeup, but the majority might not be the. So maybe exclude like a makeup sub. Makeup addiction. So then you're targeting, like the men instead of women, or at least refining that.
Are you suggesting that Gallowboob doesn't have female fans? Like that
That's not for me. Oh
my girlfriend knew who you were.
I met my girlfriend on Reddit when she knew who I was. That's a story
N
that we can tell them.
Bro. N=1. My girlfriend's a scientist. I made her a t-shirt that says statistically significant.
Fuck. My girlfriend is a scientist. I need that shirt too.
Dude, yes. Oh my god, I will send that to you.
But yeah, right. I was actually just tinkering. Of course, I don't want to exclude women. I'm just thinking, like, does it work to refine like sex-based targeting, but at the same time.
So that's what happened here. So my top comment was like, someone's like, what targeting parameters did you use? I'm not sure if I should be flattered or not. Yeah. It was like asking the real questions. Reddit only allows me to target LA-based women. But right. So what happened is that a bunch of men started porting in, or a lot of like men started saying like, I'm a dude, why am I seeing this? And I was like, well, Reddit doesn't allow gender-based targeting because Reddit doesn't know your gender. So the only way that I was able to do it was saying people who recently visited 2X chromosomes. And so I didn't know, like, I mean, obviously men visit that sub, and Reddit was expanding their targeting more than I allowed them to. Different story. So you can't target sex, but you can intuit sex.
That's what I'm thinking too. It's kind of like understanding these communities, and you don't have insights. Like I have insights for growth and visits and clicks on my subreddit. Nothing that's personal information from users.
So you're a moderator of how many communities?
Probably like 120. But I had 250, man. I dropped 100 not that long ago. They are not all communities. I've maybe got like 10 or 15, maybe 20 active communities. The rest are either joke subs or username subs. It's
holy crap! You can't target TIFU.
What?
Interesting.
Oh, come on.
You can't. Let's try odd. Okay, oddly satisfying. You can target.
All right. What about relationship advice?
No. Okay. I honestly would not have expected that.
Me neither.
What could go wrong? I love that I love what could go wrong, because every time I see what could go wrong, I'm reminded that what could go right is also a sub, and I
didn't know.
Oh, what could go right is fantastic.
I love it.
This is good. That one's like, you're just like it. I love that it exists. I love that someone like thought to make that. As
the top mod is awesome there too. He's like He's a decent dude. I'm pretty sure this is where it kind of originated. The what could go wrong, you know, the WC whatever. I see it outside of Reddit now, but maybe it was there before. But like oddly satisfying also kind of generated on Reddit, or you know, got to exist there and spread. So facepalm works. What about Mad Lads? Because there are a bunch of kids on Mad Lad. I wouldn't understand why. Yeah, surprising. Holy, right?
Okay, so these are all the, so I'm assuming that these are all the subs where people are more likely to know you.
Yeah.
So we can do something like this, and then that's 6.7 million people, which is a really, for me, it's a really large audience to target. Usually the audiences that I aim for are like 100,000, but because we'll be using your name in the title, again, I think the ideal would be to use a large audience with your name in the title, but then that raises a concern that Reddit will approve the ad. If they don't approve the ad, they'll send you an email and be like, we're not approving the ad because, and then what Will said is basically keep submitting. So like, that's why I keep a list in Mythos, is I'll like, oh, attempt number 3, attempt number 4, I changed this, I removed an emoji, you know, like whatever. Yep, did you freeze?
Thought they might, you know, they might push you back. Sorry.
There we go. Say it again, because you cut.
I was going to say, I'm glad they give you, you know, like an appeal or a resubmitted option instead of telling you, nope, we don't want your business. By the way,
sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes you have to ask for additional context.
We'll try and get some feedback. We'll try. I don't want to annoy Will, obviously, but we'll try to go through the normal.
I mean, yeah, I love Will to death. I love Will to death. I love that he's in like the citizen Slack community. I love that like he comments on like me sharing like, hey, like I like trolled someone with kindness, and he's like, this is amazing. And I'm like, oh, I actually have.
He's a good person.
I think you've both given me permission to share this privately. This is like, I look at this when I like need a boost more than anything. I like this is both of your guys' responses to my roast me and how I was responding to people, and I was just like, oh.
I actually fucking love that.
Because it's like, because nobody understands like how much of a compliment this is besides the 3 of us. So it's like that.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. By the way, we nerd out way too much, man, the 3 of us. This is why I want to be in LA. I want to nerd out in person.
So that this partially originated from that conversation with Will. It's like we both want you in LA. Because Reddit marketing is a challenging thing to sell, because it requires, like, to do it, to truly do it, it requires that the entity that is conveying something be attuned to their self, right? Like, you have to know that you have to know where you're full of shit and be able to be like, here's who I truly am, and have a conversation with people. And very few companies are willing to do that.
I know. Most people want sales or something, man. And I know that this is the basis of advertising, but at the same time, you know, when you tell a story, when you take your time to tell a story, to engage that audience and grow it, you're not necessarily trying to sell something. It's a process. And most people, I guess, you know, wouldn't be willing to invest in that process.
So I sent you an old version of this. We just brought on our first kind of like with this version of it. It's called Resonant Share Agreement. So it's basically a statement of work like engagement format that a marketing agency might use, but tailored to be two-sided and open. Meaning, let's do something together, but I don't know what's going to happen, right? You don't know what's going to happen. We have intentions for what this is what we think might happen, and this is what our long-term intentions are, but we're basically committing to find out together. So it's open-ended. Basically, here's my favorite part of it. Hereby agree to partner in presence and play as a means to and a medium for cultivating sustainable good. So meaning like, okay, cool. if we're spending money to develop technology to make the AI version of Gallowboob, that costs time, which costs money in some frame because our dev needs to pay his rent. So how can we bring in money to pay Nick, who built BrianBot, to pay his rent so that he can build Gallowboob? Because all he wants to do is play with code. And so like, we don't need to charge a corporation $100,000 to do this thing. Like, we need to pay Nick's rent. And so communicating to someone like, hey, like, we don't know what's going to happen from this, but it's going to be fun. And having a different frame of discussion. So instead of saying to a company, like, we're going to get you sales and we're going to push people to make this choice for your benefit, we're saying like, hey, we're going to play in public. You have a say in how we do that. You're in the sandbox with us. And by nature of you playing with us, people are going to understand your nature as an organization, just as this is public. And so just showing true nature and playing, and, you know, like, play is opening to possibility and making space and all that jazz. I've gotten on this soapbox with you before, but so all right, so items to do. So we're going to workshop this together. I will help you create a memo in your mythos to explain Gallowbot, basically tailoring it to be whatever you want it to be, to convey to whatever this audience ends up being, and then saying like, hey, here's the idea. If you're interested, we would love for you to, and then either fill out the type form or drop a comment on the ad. Both of those things are helpful. Then we'll create that ad. I'll create my ad, your ad. I'll help you create this context. And so basically we'll pin it and say like, here's context on the ad. So this will go to your memo of like submitting the ad. If it gets disapproved or not approved, then what are you? If it's not approved, interesting. Sorry. If it's not approved, then we'll document why it wasn't approved. We'll document the iterations. If it, if we, you know, like, yield interesting results, yada yada. Anyway, this is the context for the ad. So we'll do that. We'll create the ad. We'll do that. We'll pin it.
When are you looking to have it kind of live, more or less?
Say it again.
Have it live? I think because my phone is, sorry, man, 1 second. Hello? Hey, Will, good, man. How are you? Let me call you back in 5. I'm actually on a call now, so I'm gonna shut the phone, finish the call, and I'll call you back, if that's all right. Perfect, mate. Thank you. Cheers. It's just for a contract work in London, someone who has like, self-driving cars, and he wanted me to maybe help with the campaign. We'll see.
Interesting. The other thing too is I think that, and this is the other hypothesis that I have, that I, to some degree, bill myself as the least hated advertiser.
Right.
Getting you doing ads is using whatever we would define as influence that you have, right? Again, it's really challenging to define that in the context of Reddit. And then being able to say like, I mean, I can compare my numbers to yours, and Will can maybe provide us with some numbers on ads, but like, people know you by some frame because your username pops up a lot, and if you're doing an ad, then people are going to be seeing it. We're paying for people to see it, so it's a sponsored post in a sense that like we're paying for it to be there, but what we choose to be in that frame. The difference is like if someone contacts you and says, I want you to do advertising for me.
Like using my name for this, yeah.
Right. And so basically we would be able to do ads for anything that you like. So what I can do is you tell me like, Brian, I really love this product. I'll find their email, reach out to them and be like, hey, one of our citizens, #1 influencer at Reddit, he really loves your product. He's doing ads through his account. Would you like to, pay him to do that? He already loves your thing. He already tells people about it when they ask. We can make them ask a lot more because
that
sharing
is
your love story.
All right. So I love that, by the way. I didn't even think of it that way. You have to understand
that was the conversation that we had privately about your long-term intentions and getting you to LA. This is the outcome of that.
I see. And are we still recorded, by the way? We're recording.
Yeah.
So the fact is, you have to understand, and I know you understand it, but I have to repeat it. My name in the title will make people click, ridiculously so, because it has proven to be the case in every single thread. Like if my name is in the title, regardless of what the content is, people will click.
Right.
Often it's not even real, real content or fake content, whatever. People will click, they will engage because they recognize the name. So we have to play this, obviously, with that in mind. Obviously, without trying to incite, light flames on people.
That's the beauty of Mythos, is that it's so simple, right? Because it's just context. So if you're doing an ad, then you have the ability to say, I really love this product. Here's the email of us reaching out to that company to say, hey, I love your product. I would like to pay my rent by talking about your product. I talk about your product when people ask me what's my favorite blah de blah. I would like to have people ask me that more often, and I would like to do that with you paying me to do it. And so it's like the
So you're this is when people ask me, do you get paid? What do you do? How do you make money? This is not how I get paid or how I make money, but this is actually a transparent way where I can endorse a product or a cause or something on Reddit via my name.
But see, what you just said is you said how I make money, and the structure of that language implies that there's only one way.
Absolutely, you're right.
And so with Mythos, you have the ability, because as you and I and the rest of probably the majority of sane humans know, it's rarely is anything exact. Right? It's how do you make money? Well, it's by and large through a job, however, this person paid me $1 to pick up their luggage for them at the airport, whatever. So being able to provide that context, some ads that I do are just for the fun of it, and some ads that I do are because people paid me to do it. And regardless of which is which, I tell people. And if someone's paying me to do it, I can show snapshots of the emails and the text messages with consent from the people that sent them privately. Basically, if it's you get a kick out of this. So these are the terms of service that we're writing for the cooperative. So our software such as Mythos, the contextual augmentation, Spirit Check, OnePlus platform, associated websites and works, our spaces, the gatherings, the events, Slack, our properties, our events called One Gatherings, our programs like Playing in Public, the live stream, our content such as the public creations on Mythos One, our economy represented by the One Ledger. So literally any interaction that you have with the cooperative that is not private is collectively referred to as the service. So if you write a memo in Mythos and you do not tag it private, that is a contribution to Mythos. So if you create a memo to talk about the ad that you're making, that is credited in the ledger, so you get credit for that. So we will pay you our dollars, and you can theoretically exchange those our dollars for something that we're still working on the mechanisms for converting the R dollar. Actually, you can't convert the R dollars to cash, but the stature in the R dollars determines the allocation of cash. So basically, the more R dollars you have, the higher the likelihood that we pay you as an employee, is the framework that we're presently using. But that's a different rabbit hole of a story. So anyways, yeah, the intention here for me is to teach you how to do this, teach you how to create ads, to empower you to make an ad that is for an art project that we can do together, to pave the way for whether or not we should do that as a project or whether or not we should just leave it as a funny domain and a story. Totally
Right.
cool with that. And then, you know, best case scenario, we do something like this that we can show to a company and say, hey, here's what an ad by Gallowboob looks like.
Sorry.
And you have the ability to put money behind this and actually
Just stay here. Stay with me. Hey, Jano.
yeah.
Hey, Habiba. I'm on a call with my friend. Tell me, are you coming by? Yeah, I'm home. Perfect. I'm finishing work now, so we can chill. All right. Yeah, I'll see you. Bye. It's my cousin. It's week.
Is he coming over for that big bag of thing that you held up earlier?
Yeah, he's gotta get the. We've got olive oil from Greece. We've got actually got fuck ton of olive oil and olives and marmalade, and yeah, he needs to pick up some of his stuff. Among.
So this is an ad. This is media.
Perfect. By the way, just to go back to what you were saying, I 100% agree that this stunt is for us to play with. All right, we're gonna have fun. Yeah. We're gonna look at analytics. We're gonna look at the numbers, the impressions, see how it's gonna spread in its own. It's art. We're playing. I'm gonna cross post it. I'm gonna see my own audience's reaction, my friends on Twitter, the journals, everyone. All right. Past that point, this is a marketable way, not to shill out. Like I'm not gonna be like Rob promotes KFC chicken. That's not the point. The point is having an opportunity.
Could, but the frame that you would do it in would probably not be something that they would consent to. And that's the point. It's like, hey, KFC reaches out to you. We'd like you to promote our shit. You're like, I mean, I don't like chicken, so the only way that I can promote it is sarcastically by saying, KFC paid me to promote this and I wanted to make rent, so
which is another promotion. Absolutely, man. And the fact is, if people are clicking through it because Gallowboob did something or said something, that is a marketable thing. That doesn't mean it's a marketable thing you have to cash in on with, with that, like the worst intentions. Quite the contrary. It means you can actually play with that and do something that has meaning. I personally would love to support some, causes or movements that I believe in. So that also would be a great opportunity for me.
The One Inc. Cooperative is full of belief-driven organizations. So
yeah, they are, man. That's the thing. I need to get my ass to the symposium because I want to meet these humans and touch their face.
Just imagining you at symposium. Like, who's that guy walking around and like touching faces? I don't think he's blind. Sorry, that's Rob. He's just been on video chat for 4 years from London.
He needs to take it in. He's like, this is real now.
So this is another example that I'll give is like, so this is an ad for a podcast that's hosted by Ari Anderson. Ari and I, a podcast, so literally everything they know is a podcast hosted by Ari Anderson discussing the Faustian bargains, deals with the devil we've made with technology, and this is how human beings, If you click on, oh, I didn't put it. Okay, if you click on Ari Anderson, then it takes you to who is Ari Anderson. So I write all of my memos about most things. I rate them as objective and then subjective. So objective, he's a podcaster, producer, and the founder of Curious Audio. Subjective, we were introduced by David Carrico in late 2016, So it enables me to say, like, here's who this person is objectively, as you might read in Wikipedia. And here's who this person is subjectively, as you might read if I were sending you an email to say, my friend Rob is. And so these two components are linked. And so if you were to go to a company to say, hey, or I were to go to a company on your behalf and say, hey, here's Rob, he's doing this thing. This is what it could look like if he promoted your company. He's conveyed a genuine interest. He already has been using your products for this, whatever, or he really wants to, but like can't justify spending that much money on a scooter, whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. I see what you're tippy-toeing around, not even tippy-toeing. I see what you're addressing, but yeah. All right.
Well, and to not tiptoe, you've been written up in Forbes talking about Reddit, and we've talked previously about that journalist wanting to do a piece on Reddit advertising, and this is an off-label use of Reddit advertising that Reddit is borderline kosher with. And so, like the more that we do this, the more we make space for a journalist to be like, this is interesting, and then we can make space for more art.
Brian, yeah, this in itself, the whole Gallowbot thing is a packageable thing that I can already push for, Fernando, you know my other contacts, but I think this is also, like, as you said, on a brand appeal, on a next level play, there is a lot there that we can do. And it can open up some other opportunities that might not have to do with Reddit ads, but have to do with you and me and maybe Will playing.
Yeah. So well, that's the point of that for me and me, you, and Will. I think like the three of us have the context of like, okay, the One Ink Cooperative is a frame in which we can co-create together. That's it, right? Like everything that fits in that bucket there's a lot, and we don't need to define it because it's a lot. But
I strongly agree with that vision that you've pitched today. Honestly, like we've talked about a lot of ideas. That I think that one is solid and it's fun too, because I fucking do not want to do anything that is not fun, man. I need peace of mind, not anxiety. So this is fun, I want to do that.
So without going in loops, yes, I'm going to stop recording, share something with you, totally separate. And then we will jump into this. We'll chat about it in Slack. I'll create a channel for this. And then basically I'll help you set this up. You can designate me as an admin so that I can help you with it. We'll then do another quick overview once we produce the assets, and go through that. And then once we launch it, we'll have this stream that we can reference timestamps. And then we'll have the next stream of like going through what we've done before we launch it. And then, let's see what happens. I mean, this is an easy start. Like it doesn't require a lot of dev. We're not like launching anything. We're telling a story. We're seeing if people are interested in the story. Seeing how people react in the comments tells us if people like understand what we're sharing or are resonant with it, yada, yada. So cool. So thank you. I'm gonna stop the share so that I can share other things. Stop share and then